With the full release of Backpack Battles happening tomorrow, I mean, if you're watching this video as I upload it, I think it's interesting to take a look at the entire history of Backpack Battles demo. Because this demo, I have played 500 plus hours and I've been completely addicted. And I've not been there since the very start, but I was there pretty early, and I think it's a bit of nostalgia to see how far this game has come and where we will be starting tomorrow. So let's go on to a little bit of a nostalgia trip together. So we're going all the way to the very first patch, patch 0.2.0. I'm not 100% sure which patch I started playing, so I will see when I start noticing things, but they added vampiric armor so you can craft leather armor plus blood amulet, shield of valor, so there were no shields of valor before. The only way to reduce stamina and damage, I guess, was just normal shields. I want to see if there's any interesting balance changes or other changes. If not, we just skip ahead. Wait, lightsaber used to give 10 blind? That's insane. So on the first patch, it used to just inflict 10, then it went to 7. Hungry Blade also gave 2 vamp instead of 1. Okay, that's actually pretty massive. What? And Bloodthorn used to get 3 vamp instead of 2. That's about it. Then we have patch 0.3. We also added Goobert. Okay, so this is the patch where we got Goobert. Before that, it did not exist. And also all the different Gooberts that you can craft. Poison, Blood, Steel, Light, and Bloody. I don't think there is a Rainbow Goobert yet. At least it's not mentioned here. Dragonskin Boots got changed where they removed 2 poison. I don't remember this, so I guess this got changed later again. And Hungry Blade used to not stack on vamp damage, so you would just get a bunch of vamp, but it would not scale its damage. That's a very good change, because otherwise it would just stay a really bad weapon. Moving on to the next patch, they added the collection for in-game recipes, so you can now see things that you've crafted or need to craft. They're also introducing the new mechanic mana. So since, well, this is June 25th, before that there was no mana, any of it, and that brings a bunch of new things. So they added blueberries, the food item that gives mana, obviously. Broom, so there were just no brooms yet. The early game was then just wood swords, right? What else do you play? They added a mana orb, of course, the Book of Light, which is now looking like a crown, but it used to be a book. Strong heroic potion, okay. Magic staff and critwood staff, the, well, magic weapons that you make, at least on Ranger, and on Reaper it is Staff of Healing. So that there's also just enabled an entirely new build. This seems like a massive patch. Introducing a new mechanic like that, I don't think we saw that again. I think since mana, I can't really remember or know of any other new, like, real build mechanic that they added in the game, or at least like a buff that shows up at the bottom that you can build around. Unless I'm mistaken, I will see it later, but yeah, it's very interesting. So really big update. Bloodthorn's vamp also went from 2 to 1, so to the current Bloodthorn that we have now. Wait, Gloves of Haste? Gloves used to give 35% speed. I did not know that. 35% is ridiculous. That's kind of what Vamp Gloves does right now. And it got nerfed to 30% speed. So it's gonna get nerfed again at some point, because right now it's at 20. So maybe it gets nerfed 2 more times. Wait, Gloves were so busted. What? And they costed 3 gold? Okay, dude. Green stars are now green diamonds. Oh, I didn't know it all were stars. So now the little diamonds that you see on, for example, Arrow, those used to be stars, which this is definitely a better quality of life change. The next patch they added combat log, which is definitely just one of the bigger updates as well, because I use it all the time. I think most people do, and it is super helpful, super useful to know what is going on to like replay the fight. So combat logs, I don't know many games that actually have that, where you can like reanalyze a fight that happened. So that's definitely one of the things I think that makes Backpack Battles stand out and make it like easy to optimize things and learn from your mistakes. They added more new shit. They added fancy fencing rapier, so a godly weapon, which to this day has always been a very interesting weapon that's never been like super meta, but it's always been like buff nerfed, has been like swinging around, and it exists. It sees some play now, but it used to not see play for a while. They also added 2 more mana things, Spectral Dagger and Mana First. They also changed Piggy Bank. Gold cost reduced to 3 gold, so I guess it costed more. And gold gain reduced to +1, so it used to give more. Did it used to give 2? I actually don't know. But that's very interesting. So you could farm actually a lot more gold with piggy banks before. And here's another Gloves of Haste nerf from 30% to 25%. Vamp Gloves used to give 60%. That's actually ridiculous. 60% speed buff. Holy shit. It went to 40%. Okay. 60% speed. Isn't that like what Crossblades gives right now? I think it is. Pan also occupies 3 slots now, so a pan used to occupy 4. I did not know that. That is very interesting, I guess. Following update mostly brings quality of life changes, but they also added some new weapons. So they added Gin Lamp, another godly item that sees like not that much play, but it has some fun builds. I assume it was the same back then. They also added Dark Saber. I think it was crafted differently. Yeah, because Cryptic Crystal wasn't in the game for a while. And they finally added the Rainbow Gooberts. A bit later than expected, but yeah. Separate a class item pool. So you're telling me that before the crit with staff, you were able to build on Ranger and Staff of Healing on Reaper? I mixed it up. I obviously meant the crit with Staff on Reaper and the Staff of Healing on Ranger. At least that's how I read this. Maybe it's just that there's new items that are separated class per class. And like, for example, Reaper might not have been able to make a crit with Staff anyway. But I don't think that's the way, because Lucky Clover's Bow and Arrow and Acorn Collar already existed, right? They're not new items, so Ranger and Reaper basically had the same item pool. Okay, I never knew this. Oh, and that's how Darksaber was made, with Demonic Flask still, right? Because that was still in the game and is now a Reaper exclusive item. Damn, I'm learning. So a bunch of combat log changes as well, because the log actually went through a lot of changes. Almost every week I feel like there were small changes and upgrades to the combat logs, to the point where now we have so much info. I think we're still missing a couple crucial things, but maybe that's full release, that's gonna be different. Following update brings some new items in the shop as well. Mainly deck of cards, it looks like, which is a very interesting mechanic, like one of the few in the game that where you buy something, you get stuff offered in the shop and it all builds onto each other. It kind of is similar to Gembox, where if you buy it, you can find gems in the shop suddenly. I'm wondering if they're gonna add more stuff like that. However, deck of cards I don't think ever was that good. It's like a bit playable, but right now it's been very slow. Also, 2 new mechanics, Heat and Frost. So besides mana, they do add new mechanics, but Heat and Frost were never really something you build around. Like Heat a little bit, but that's only later with like the Torch and maybe with like Chonk. But I don't think Chonk is a thing yet, even though they did add deck of cards. I don't think it's mentioned here. So yeah, both Heat and Frost are things. They never really were as impactful though as mana was to the game, but Heat will later see more synergies. They also added the Bird, Jinx, Torquilla, and yeah, deck of cards. Rainbow Goobert, larger numbers. I like this. So the next patch, this one adds the survival game mode. It works like this: when you achieve 10 wins in a run, you can take wins to survival. Wait, so you're telling me before this there was no survival yet? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it always had survival, so yeah, pretty cool. New recipe, Hero Longsword and Falcon Blade, so you can do more with your Steel Sword, but I don't think you can make Crossblades yet. Crossblades is not in here. I think I started playing when Crossblades was a thing, so as soon as you see Crossblades in the patch notes, that's when I remember entering the game, because I think one of my first videos was Crossblades. It was very broken, I do remember that. The next patch doesn't seem as big. They added Potion Belt, and this Potion Belt, well, works different than the current one. In this Potion Belt, if you trigger a potion, you had a % chance to trigger another potion in the same belt. So Potion Belts are really strong. Potions became very strong, because you just stack them, play double Potion Belt, and get insane effects. And they added Chonk, so now well, you can combine the Charizard card that they got in one of the previous updates with the dragon. The Blood Goobert can now crit as well. Next update is where they add the Box of Riches, which is another really big change to the game. I think one of the more impactful ones as well, because Box of Riches, you see it in most endgame builds right now. It is super important. There's so much stacking that you can do. I think it adds a lot more definitely to Backpack Battles, so this is a really big addition. It's actually, dude, I love how every single week they were committed to adding new things, and slowly they figured out, okay, this is really good stuff, this is what we're focusing on. And there's so many mechanics here that I do really like compared to like other auto battlers, and I've played a bunch of auto battlers, but I think Backpack Battles is doing a lot of things right. Okay, in the next patch they added this arrow so you can push all your items in your storage, which I have clicked too many times on accident, and I would like to admit, but overall a good change, I think. Oh, and there's a way to hide opponent names. I did not even know this, but okay, there's a way to hide opponent names. I should be doing that, I think. They added 2 new gems, Topaz and Amethyst. Okay, those did not exist in the last update then? No, they only had 3 different gemstones. Okay, then August. I think I was definitely playing in August already, end of August. They added the Lucky Piggy, also Claws of Attack. Right, pretty cool how they like mention whose suggestion this was, because a lot of people are very active in the Discord and like constantly suggesting things. And they added a damage meter to combat logs and a lock feature. So wait, so before this you were not able to look items to prevent them from combining. They're also introducing Empower, so Empower wasn't a thing before this, so another new mechanic, but again something that doesn't really go into crazy builds like mana. So we keep getting like new mechanics, but none of them are as, I think, impactful. And power builds are not really a thing. I mean, they're okay, and power is sometimes used with like high burst builds, or when you run multiple weapons like hammer dagger or with greatsword, but yeah, not as like cookie cutter, I would say. Dragon skin boots now give empower instead of cleansing poison. Okay, so here dragon skin boots are changed. The following patch, 0.4, they added a carrot. Carrots are used for cleansing, and I guess Empower, but that's not very relevant most of the time. They also added Excalibur, another suggestion by someone on Discord, and I think it was very strong once it was first released, or at least for a little bit, and then it died down. So Lightsaber getting nerfed again, Whip as well. I think Whip has been in these patch notes a lot. I'm not pointing it out because I'm not pointing out every little change, but I keep reading Foreign Whip. The following patch, new defensive item, Cap of Resilience, which is just an item that is incredibly like good and played a lot right now. Has a bunch of crafting recipes now as well. You can also smash Piggy Bank with hammer to gain coins. That's about it. Like no other real changes. Oh, they added a wardrobe with character skins, so now you can actually get the skins that you want. Well, I have a lot of trophies that I can't use right now. I wish there were more skins or more cosmetics that you could use it on, but maybe in the future. The following update, they expanded on the wardrobe, so you can mix and match. They said they're adding skins for the chibi versions as well. They actually haven't done that yet. I don't know if they're even gonna keep the chibi versions. I'm not a big fan of them, but they mentioned it. And there's new item in practically large greatsword. So finally we got greatsword into the game. Very important, very huge, very nice. Now September, in this patch they added unique items. So before this there were no uniques yet. There were only 3. There were the villain sword, blood harvester, and artifact stone cold, which I think unique is one of the more like one of the mechanics in the game that I like a little less. Like all of the other things they've done I think are great and they're iterating on it, but unique items always feel a bit weird, because if someone hits it early like a villain sword, it feels really bad to face. Like you just lose it, you feel like you can't do much about that. Or very often when I find uniques later in the game, they're kind of useless, and uniques in general are pretty bad right now. It doesn't even feel good to get them some of the time or most of the time. But there's also this scary line, like how good can you make them that they're actually important than they were with the unique tag, to the point where maybe people get frustrated if they don't hit it or they face it, right? If you make them too strong, people are going to be annoyed when you face them because it's just luck. If they're too weak, people are like, what's the point of uniques? Also, it's like such a low percent to get, and right now there's a lot of items that can increase your unique chance, right? You have the platinum customer cards, so you can find more of them or multiple of them, but it's so greedy, it's not consistent, not good. So this is one of the mechanics that I'm a little less intrigued by, or that I like a little bit less just because of how it plays. But still, you know, they could work on it and it still has potential. Items now have multiple types. Types were added to many items. Oh, so items are now classed. So right now you have items that, for example, react on other dark items or holy items next to it. That didn't used to be a thing because there were no types. Then we go to patch 0.5. They added subclasses. So actually, dude, I thought this was introduced so much earlier. It took them a while to add subclasses to Backpack Battles. Just to, like, I guess put in perspective in how much this game has grown. Like before this, people have been playing without subclasses for months. And right now they're a real core of the game. Like they're so important to choose a direction, what your build goes into. And I think, especially in the full release as well, with all of the other classes having so many subclasses, it definitely has been one of the biggest quality of life changes. So it's always very exciting to know next patch what they're introducing that could just flip the game like this. They only had 2 though. They only had Hunter and Lifebinder. They didn't have Poison Ivy yet, and Reaper only had Vampiress or Witch, which is the lifesteal or the fatigue. Bags can now be picked up when no items are inside. Wait, previously you couldn't? So the next patch they added the Poison Ivy subclass only to Ranger. Reaper did not get a new one, which is interesting. And you can now shift the entire inventory with the arrow key. So before that was also not possible. And control click on items to send them to the storage. So more quality of life changes that people use all the time now. Wait, I honestly thought that Crossblades was already going to be introduced way earlier. This is insane. Fix an infinite stamina glitch. Okay. Okay, and now the week after, we're gonna get a Hexblade, which is the third subclass for Reaper. They also reworked Fanfare, the trumpet, to now stun, because apparently it was really oppressive before. Interesting. So wait, before this moment, the bag moving change means that people were not able to move bags around? Am I reading that correctly? I thought this was like at the very start where people were not able to move bags once they placed them, but it was all the way up till October that people had to, you know, place bags and then that's it. They can't move it anymore. Because that's also insane. I thought it was way earlier that changed. I could be reading this wrong. I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that's what this means. Ranger starts with banana instead of stone. It used to start with a stone. And this is kind of where it started taking up, October 15th. So this is probably around when I started playing it as well. Before this, it was a relatively smaller game, but it was the most played demo on Steam from this point on. Damn. This is indeed when they added Crossblades. Okay, we found the moment where I started playing a lot. Before this, I think I played a couple games or a little bit, but this is when I started making videos. So Crossblades is a thing. Ranger got a new skin. Storage box cannot be lifted for no reason at all. Cool. Wait, Reaper now starts with a dagger instead of the mushroom. Wait, that got reverted back, right? There's actually so many balance changes here. I've not been going over all of these, but just look at it. And here is the final Gloss of Haste nerf where it goes from 25% to 20. So it stayed at this for quite a while. Also, Hammer stun chance got nerfed a couple times already. I didn't mention before, but it used to be like 0.7 or 0.8 and now it's 0.5. So from here on out, I'll be able to follow the patches I think a little better because I've been through those changes. They added Corrupted Crystal, so this is where we get Corrupted Crystal, which mainly is there for fatigue and for a lot of crafting recipes in the future, but currently only to craft Pandemonium, which was a new pan which I remember a lot of people were hyped about. I think it saw some play, but it has never been really good. Yeah, it never really was a better poison bolt and other ways that you could play it. Crossblades got nerfed a lot because they were just super easy to spam. Fixed RNG manipulation using the reserve button, so there are ways that you could manipulate the shops. Renamed Ripsaw Blade to Ripsaw Blade. Yeah, that's the most important things for this patch, I would say. Then they're adding new unique items mainly for Halloween. So this was Pumpkin and Timp. This is also the point where they like increased the amount of, I think, uniques that you got offered, or at least these uniques. So you're able to find it more often. So I was able to make content on it. And they added new outfits for Reaper for Halloween as well. And yeah, again, the game kept growing. This was like the peak of Backpack Battles, I would say, almost. I think it was still going up, but yeah, 14,000 concurrent players is insane. We all know you love Rainbow Goober, but until now only Reapers could craft one. Oh, wait, so there were only 3 Goobers for Ranger. I forgot about this. They added Carrot Goober, and with that they added another Rainbow Goober for Ranger as well. Okay, so just more Goober, that's about it. And then a bunch of balance changes. All lightsabers were the new hot thing after the nerf of crossblades, right? Blind can no longer be stacked, but it is repeatable, so you couldn't just instantly, with multiple lightsabers, get 1,000,000 blind and 1,000,000 burst damage. And struggles got buffed. I think this was also when we started seeing a lot more fatigue Reaper. We got a new recipe, Shovel. Shovel has been something that Reapers love to play right now. It used to be a lot stronger, but it got nerfed quite a bit. And this is also the really big update where shields like Shield of Valor and Spike Shield and Buckler now prevent damage instead of generating block, which a lot of people were like on the fence about. It's the same with me because I was just used to, you know, gaining block from shields. But I think the change was fine. It ended up being okay. Removing damage is still a fine mechanic. And here struggles got nerfed from speed boost 150 to 100. Also Falcon Blades got nerfed. Stamina went from 0.7 to 1. The bonus speed and the cooldown. It all got nerfed because of, well, mainly Carrot Goobers with it. I don't think Falcon Blades have been able to recover ever since. They also added a lot of options that are just very helpful, like default battle speed or how you want to like size your screen, the FPS limit. Then they did a very experimental change, which of course it's still in the open beta. I was really happy that they experiment with stuff like this. They changed the starting inventories. They have like more space, more gold, and also the price of rerolls now started increasing, which is, I think, a really important mechanic because otherwise people could just roll it down and force things, which is one of the reasons why Crossblades was so easy to make a while ago. So now it goes to 2 gold after some rolls. Then it went to 3 gold, but they got rid of that in the next patch. And they added Lump of Coal, which is kind of like a gemstone. Subclasses were also moved to round 7, so a round earlier that you have to decide what you're doing in the game, which was a very interesting change. Also again got changed the week after. Falcon Blades and Carrot Goobers got nerfed again because they were still really good. So last week I said Falcon Blades weren't able to recover. I think those nerfs weren't enough yet. Now it was for sure. And then both Corrupted Crystal and Struggles also got nerfed. So Fatigue Reaper, one of the more common builds as well, also got nerfed. Also hasn't really been able to recover. I think this was also when, yeah, Piercing Arrow got changed with its stars and its alignment. And you just had to play it completely differently. And then the next patch, they worked on a bunch of spike stuff. So Thorn Whip, Spike Shield, it all got changed. Also, lightsabers made a comeback because of other builds being bad, and they said they made some indirect changes. They also added 2 new bows, so they added Tusk Piercer and Fortuna's Grace. So you had the normal bow, now you can finally craft 2 others. Subclasses, yeah, went back to round 8. Rerolls were changed again, like I mentioned. The week after, they added Mana Potion, so you could now make Mana Potion, and they added a strong Pestilence Flask, and I think this was the start of Poison Reaper becoming really good. They also reworked Excalibur, so now it uses mana to trigger the stored food. Pandemonium, it used to have like a spot where it can speed something up, that was also removed. Now it just inflicts poison, and I think they also changed the stars a little bit, I don't remember. Staff of Unhealing got nerfed. I think it gets nerfed a lot over the next coming weeks. It still kind of got nerfed the last couple weeks. It's just always been kind of a strong build for Reaper. This is December already. Item combining can now be locked and unlocked in combat. Probably the quality of life change that saved me the most amount of times. They added Capo Discomfort, which is Corrupted Crystal plus Cap. another, I think, key item right now that sees so much play. And then a lot of other smaller buffs and nerfs. These are all more on the top of my head because these feel more recent to me. This was when I was playing like at least 5 to 6 hours a day. This was also still during the peak of Backpack Battles. I think December was its peak, and then it kind of started going downhill again. I've thought of doing a video about like the history of Backpack Battles, which is very short, but like how it spiked, why it spiked, how much it went downhill and everything that affected it, because I think it's pretty interesting and it's something that I'm pretty occupied with, but I don't know. And now we got a massive patch 0.7, so where we get Torch, which is an early game weapon that sees a lot of play right now. You can burn it as well. You have like the heat stone unique that they added, burning coal, and heat mechanics now being a bit more implemented. This also started making like Gooberts a lot better because torches and heat torches are good with it, so we saw a lot of Goobert builds. I think we saw Chunk a lot more as well in general because people are picking up dragons to light their fires. There's also an item library, which I use so much. It's super helpful. A bunch of other quality of life things, a really big patch. I feel like every week, every couple of weeks, there's just such a big quality of life change that I cannot imagine the game without it or playing before it. They also reworked Potion Belt. So this is when they killed Potion Belt to what it is today, which is not that good because everyone was just spamming as many potions as possible. And I thought this was also a nerf to Poison Reaper, which it definitely was, but it still saw play. Poison Ivy also was too strong, like with the spike rework, so they kind of nerfed it. Ended up still being decently strong as well. Then we got the Christmas patch where there's 2 new unique items again, Present and Gingerbread Jerry, so they again increased the odds of hitting these. And Present was probably the most insane unique they added. It gave me some really good content still to this day. When you get this, there's so much crazy shit that can happen, some amazing games. I got a double Rainbow Goobert game, so this was definitely a good time to be a content creator. Gingerbread Jerry, on the other hand, was really bad, still is. Probably one of the worst uniques. Ranger also got a Christmas outfit because last time Reaper got an outfit, so you know, you gotta balance it out a little bit. That is mostly it. They had to nerf Ruby Chonk because Chonk was absolutely insane with all of the heat. They also had to nerf shields quite a bit because they were just pretty good, but that was mainly because of torches, I think. And Greatsword keeps getting buffed and power. Was at 10 at first, and then it went to 9 or to 8 right away. Now it went to 7, and as we know, it will go down all the way to 5 to the point where it is today and where it's pretty strong. They're adding more graphics to their nodes, I realize. This was the final patch of the year where they made it so you can pick up bags and rotate them. This feels like a very recent change, but I mean, I guess this was December. All changes are gonna feel pretty recent now. Definitely a nice quality of life change. I use it often, but I mean, it's less impactful than other quality of life changes, let me put it that way. And they added Platinum customer card for you to troll your games. I don't think it's good. Even with all of the buffs it had, it's still not great. It's more of a meme, but it's funny. And Magic Torch, which is insane. It sees so much play, at least right now. There was a time where it didn't see or wasn't that great, but now it kind of revitalized for some reason and it's amazing again. They changed the crafting recipe of Darksaber with Corrupted Crystal. Had to nerf Present, of course. Goobert got nerfed a lot as well. It came from 12 health at some point, now it's all the way down to 9. Fencing Rapier also getting buffed every single week, kind of like Greatsword was for a while. And they had to slowly start buffing Crossblades again because it just sees no play. Now it sees a little bit of play again for some reason, but it's still not good. Now the start of next year, this is another really massive change. They give you 1 extra try, so you basically gain a life back on round 8, which I think has been a really good change. It's felt pretty good to me, and I've been, it's been fun to play with it. They also changed Book to Crown for a visual, and they added Holy Spear, which was a decent counter to like poison, a little bit to armor. It doesn't see an insane amount of play. It depends on the meta. If there's a lot of poison and armor, maybe I'll make a comeback again. This was also the time where Bloodthorn was just super oppressive. It got a stamina nerf here. I think it's still good. Bloodthorn still sees a lot of play even after all the nerfs, but yeah, it was just the best thing. 1 week later, and they're adding Belladonna, which makes suddenly Poison Ivy Ranger insane again, and people are playing just Belladonnas everywhere, a bunch of poison here, Darksaber, and we get a strong Mnemonic Flask which sees no play. It's a terrible item that I don't think I've seen ever played against me. Oh right, and Piggy Bank, I think that was last week, it also gave plus health, so Piggy Bank now more than just money gave you extra additional health. It was too strong. Everyone had at least like 5 pigs in their backpack, a lot of money, a lot of crazy stuff, so they nerfed it. Now Pig is in a decent spot. It's still pretty good, but yeah, it sees less play than back then. This is the reveal where Backpack Battles is released on March 8th, which is tomorrow if you're watching the video as it goes live. And I have an entire video covering this again, all that's new, and well, tomorrow I'll be covering the new class and all the new items. Then a week later they add Moon Shield, which has been a pretty decent item, just nice thing to have in the game. They added a bunch of damage to a bunch of weapons. They just started buffing everything that's been weak for so long after they got nerfed. I feel like a lot of items were in like a very OP phase for a week, then it got nerfed, then it got nerfed again, and then it was just that, and now the devs have slowly just been buffing everything a little bit, to the point where a lot of things are back to being playable. Of course, Belladonna got nerfed, Staff of Healing also got nerfed again, and Poison Flask, because Poison Reaper is still a thing. And he kept buffing Customer Card every single week. We're now at the end of January, we're getting really close now. They're just adding Corrupted Armor, which is an item that doesn't see that much play again, another crafting recipe with Corrupted Crystal, a bunch of buffs to a bunch of items as per usual that just don't see that much play, and I guess a few small nerfs. Most notably, Belladonna got nerfed again, Darksaber got a slight nerf as well. It's just Poison Ivy stuff, I guess. And Mana First, which is another nerf to Unhealing. Also, all of these weeks they're adding like small changes to the damage logs or to the combat logs, like you can check block, you can check your healing, things like that. Then they added a German translation, so you can play the game in German. They added Wolpertinger, which is has been very interesting. It's been pretty fun to play with. Same with the new unique, the Dancing Dragon, which was actually kind of bad. It's okay, it's tempo, but it doesn't see as much play whenever it's offered. It's just like most uniques, right? Situationally, you see it being good. Most of the time, you see people just skipping it. More combat log changes as per usual. They also completely reworked Struggles, so it doesn't trigger on fatigue. So kind of Fatigue Reaper died here. Or not died, it just sees like no play anymore. More Staff of Unhealing nerfs. More Darksaber nerfs. And then a bunch of buffs again to the same items that have been bad. Now, this is February. This is probably more recent on people's minds. We got Hard Container, which have been pretty great items, pretty fun to play with, enabled some new ways to look at endgame builds with like the Empowered Gears and the healing, also enabling Greatsword to be better. Fanfare the Trumpet got reworked because it saw no play, it was really bad. It's now a godly item and it still sees no play and it's still really bad. Mr. Struggles gets buffed, it's gonna get buffed again I think at some point, or maybe even twice, because people still don't pick it. It's now the worst Reaper class item. Wolpertinger got nerfed because it saw play with so many different builds. It's just the easiest way for you to gain stamina. Stone Skin Potion got a massive nerf from 20 block threshold to 45, which kind of changes how a lot of builds worked. And again, a nerf to Ivy, because Ivy was super strong. The next patch, they add box selection, so you can like drag boxes, kind of like it is some paint or Photoshop, and you can rotate an entire clunk of bags together, which is a nice quality of life change. I don't know how much it's actually used. I use it very occasionally, but it's a thing now. They added the full playing card, which is not great. It doesn't see play. Playing cards in general just don't see play, so it's hard to judge it, I guess. And they reworked gems a lot, so gems work very differently. Most noteworthy, yellow gems in Backpack now give stamina, so the easiest way to gain stamina has just been putting yellow gems in Backpack compared to playing bananas or Wolpertingers. Now the price announcement, this is how much it's gonna cost. It's gonna be $13 or 13 euros to play Backpack Battles tomorrow. February 25th, I think the second to last patch, we got Dark Heart, which is another insane item, enabling Greatsword to be amazing and just overall a good endgame tech. You see it a lot right now in any build that has a way to get regen, or just even playing bags of herbs with it. They also keep still buffing the same shit like Ruby Chonk and Fencing Rapier. Staff of Unhealing actually got a buff for the first time in forever. Struggles, of course, getting more buffs. But yeah, here's the last patch that we have today, March 3rd, which is Stonehelm. So Stonehelm, new endgame tech. They just keep adding new endgame tech, which I think is pretty good. We have a lot of builds already, and we're going to get a bunch of more builds with the full release, new classes, new class items, and I think new items on both classes as well. So the fact that they just throwing more tech now for ways to counter potential future builds, I think is pretty good. A few small buffs and nerfs, nothing crazy. And that is about it. That is everything in Backpack Battles, the entire history, kind of condensed, the things that I thought were important or noteworthy. Yeah, tomorrow, new game. It's all going to be fresh. If you guys enjoyed this short video, and I'll see you then.